Hi guys, welcome. This is Lisa from astrologysphere.com. In this video I'm going to be doing eclipse forecasts for the upcoming eclipse season, which begins on the 26th of December and extends to the 21st of June 2020. So what I'm going to do is look at the main energies surrounding eclipse season, and then I'm going to break these down sign by sign for each of the 12 zodiac signs. This is something new I've introduced to my website for members, so it's probably something I'm going to be sending out with my moon phase newsletters, which normally go out twice a month. So if you're interested in receiving these on a regular basis, then please do subscribe. All you have to do is go to astrologysphere.com/subscribe and sign up. It's absolutely free, and it would be fabulous to have you on this journey with me as we go into 2020. So without further ado, let's get into this forecast. So before we get into the individual forecasts, I'm just going to give an overall summary of the main energies that will be constellating in relation to the eclipse cycle between now and June 2020. I have, if you're interested, also done a more in-depth video which looks at the kind of macro cycles relating to the last decade and the energies that relate to these particular eclipses, as well as the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. So if you're interested in that, then you can have a look at my other video, which is called something like the December 26th solar eclipse big picture. So kick-starting eclipse season is the solar eclipse in Capricorn, which happens on the 26th of December 2019. So this begins a brand new 6-month cycle for the collective, which will last until the 21st of June 2020, when we have a new eclipse, a new solar eclipse that will take us into the next eclipse cycle. So this particular eclipse, like most solar eclipses, happens at new moon. So you could say that these type of events are really turbocharged new moons, where you are looking to plant the seeds and set your intentions for the upcoming 6 months. This particular eclipse happens, as I said, in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn on the whole is the archetypal father or authority figure. So Capricorn concerns power, responsibility, it's the inner parent, it's parenting in general, it's taking responsibility for things, owning things. It's also about working towards achieving your ambitions. Capricorn is earth energy, so this is fantastic for manifesting of all kinds. It's really great for career and coin, basically. So whilst the last eclipse cycle concerned the private sphere, this is very much about the public sphere. It's about making your mark, it's about shining in the world, and it's about achieving what it is that you want to achieve when it comes to your New Year's resolutions. So where there is a solar eclipse, there tends to be a follow-up lunar eclipse, and this year things are no different. After the solar eclipse in Capricorn, we're followed with a lunar eclipse in Cancer on the 10th of January, so in the opposite sign. So lunar eclipses happen at full moon, and they are like turbocharged full moons. Full moons on the whole tend to be about culminations or endings, and in this case what we're doing is closing out the last eclipse cycle, which began on the 2nd of July 2019 with the solar eclipse in Cancer. So Cancer is a water sign. It's the archetypal mother. This is about family, it's about the past, it's about the unconscious, it's about habits, also diet to an extent, it's about self-care. And Cancer, being a water sign, tends to be concerned with emotional things. We have to bear in mind that this is also occurring at the full moon, and that the moon is at home in the sign of Cancer. So this could be quite an emotional time, a time of release, a time of letting go, a time of endings. So that's just something to bear in mind during the first half of January, and as we go into the waning moon cycle, there may be things that you need to close out from last year before you can move fully into the solar eclipse energy that will be getting underway on December the 26th. So as if it wasn't enough to have two eclipses beginning a brand new decade, we are also due to have a Saturn-Pluto conjunction in the sign of Capricorn on the 12th of January 2020. So this begins a brand new cycle as far as these two planets are concerned. They tend to come together every 35 or so years. It's a little bit, it varies a little bit because of Pluto's elliptical orbit. Essentially, these two planets have very similar resonances. That's because before Pluto was discovered in the 1930s, many of the attributes that it now carries were assigned to the planet Saturn. Saturn was considered to be the outermost planet in the classical pantheon of planets. So a lot of the symbolism between the two overlap. Saturn is the archetypal Grim Reaper. It's also the archetypal father, so you could say that this is Emperor energy. Then we have Pluto, which is also associated with power, usually hidden power, invisible power. Pluto in many respects is symbolized by the phoenix, so this is death and then rebirth, so we're talking more about cycles here. Together, the two of them coming together in the sign of Capricorn is really quite intense energy. It's quite serious. It's also earth-based, so it's very much to do with what happens on Earth, structures that underpin the fabric of our lives. So we're talking here about power structures, so political structures. We're talking about banking. We're talking about bureaucracy. So those things on a mundane level, we might see some changes happening there. Together, Saturn and Pluto are about cutting back, stripping back. So it's possible that at this time, you know, this energy could coincide with an economic recession. I do talk about the macro trends to do with Saturn and Pluto in my video on the big picture concerning the solar eclipse. So if you're interested in how the Saturn-Pluto conjunction fits into the trends that have been happening over the last decade or so, then have a watch of that video. Needless to say, this energy will, because it's happening in the same sign as the solar eclipse, there will be some sort of continuation when it comes to the December 26th solar eclipse. It's also fair to say that many of us will already have a sense of what this energy is all about, because Saturn and Pluto were going in and out of orb of each other during 2019. They came very close to each other in the first quarter of 2019, and then they went retrograde and parted ways, and then they started to come back together again in November, December of 2019. So you've probably already got a sense that this is quite heavy energy. It's about letting go of things. It's about the truth. It's about revealing what's hidden. It's also to do with rebuilding and restructuring. It's about karmic justice and karmic rebalancing. So essentially about divine timing too, and a sort of, I hate to use the word reckoning, but that's certainly a possibility when it comes to these two planets. There's not really a lot of a sense of mercy when it comes to either Saturn or Pluto. This is the hard taskmaster and the lord of the underworld. So these are not easy energies to have to deal with, but nonetheless, if you're prepared to kind of own your stuff, if you're prepared to do the work that they demand of you, then you can reap some fantastic rewards in the future. It's just worth bearing in mind that because these planets move so slowly, you're not likely to see immediate rewards for your actions. This is more long term. This is kind of building the foundations for the future. So that in a nutshell is a summary of the three main kind of energies that will be at play in the background between now and June of 2020. Just commenting overall, it's worth saying that in many respects this is about a balancing of masculine and feminine energies. So Capricorn in tarot terms, you could associate with not just the world and the devil, but also the emperor. And Cancer, although it is associated with the moon card and with the chariot, you could also associate it to an extent with the empress energy, because it's the archetypal mother. The sun and moon have similar resonances. These are the cosmic yin and yang energies. So we're talking about the sun is masculine energy and the moon is, generally speaking, feminine energy. So you could say that between now, sort of over the next 6 months, that there's a balancing happening between masculine and feminine energies. Right, so let's get into the individual forecasts. The best way to leverage these is to listen to the forecast for your rising sign, your ascendant. This will ensure that the planets are in the correct position as far as life areas are concerned, so they're more likely to be accurate when it comes to predictions. Although you can also listen for your sun sign and then for your moon sign. If you'd like to order a personal forecast for the upcoming 6 months or 12 months, you can go to my website and order one from astrologysphere.com. So for Leos, the Capricorn Solar Eclipse on the 26th starts a new 6-month cycle for you in terms of work, health, everyday habits, schedules and rituals. So really what this means is that between now and June 2020, you'll be looking to improve the way that you do things on an everyday sort of basis. So we're talking about your schedule, your everyday health regimens, what you do at work, who you kind of work with. This is the job on a kind of day-to-day level. Also your work environment. So if you work from home, it could be that you set up a new office for yourself, you decide to feng shui it, or you look for ways to manage your schedule, which means less stress, more efficiency, and generally more productivity, because after all, the sign of Capricorn is all about achieving ambitions through hard work and through determination. So these are the things that you definitely want to be working on between now and June. Now, in order to do that, you're probably going to have to let go of a few bad habits, and these are really going to be highlighted for you on the 10th of January with the Cancer lunar eclipse. It's more than likely that you're aware of what these issues are already, because they would have come to your attention from around June or July of 2019, when we had the solar eclipse in Cancer, which started the 6-month cycle, which is now ending, or that will end on the 10th of January. So if we think about it in terms of what you're starting with the Capricorn solar eclipse, really what you're being asked to let go of in order to achieve these things are bad habits, subconscious habits. So for example, where do you procrastinate? Are you in the habit of starting things and not finishing them? Do you find it difficult to come out of hermit mode and perhaps go to meetings or network? And is this stopping your everyday work life, or is somehow inhibiting it? It could also be that you allow fears or worries to cloud your ability to work effectively, and these are all things that you really need to let go of. These are subconscious emotions or sort of subconscious patterns that perhaps you may not have been aware of up until recently, but which potentially could sabotage your success. So it's really worth taking the time to release them at the full moon on the 10th of January. On a more positive note, Jupiter in Capricorn will be working to help you expand your horizons when it comes to all matters creative. So here we're talking about anything that brings you joy, passion or pleasure. It could be new love relationships. It's possible that you've been in hermit mode for the last 6 months or so. It's now time to get out there and start dating again, or simply to have a little bit more fun. Perhaps you haven't been on holiday in some time, or you've got a hobby that you absolutely love and are passionate about, but you haven't had time for it recently. Well, if you make some tweaks to your schedules or everyday habits, maybe you do have more time for it, and ultimately it will improve your productivity because you'll be bringing more joy into your life, which has a kind of creative, stimulating effect on on your disposition. Then on the 12th of January, we come to the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Now this also happens in the sign of Capricorn, so it's related to and extends the themes begun at the solar eclipse on the 26th. So this is really asking you to step up, come into your authority, or to make cutbacks or changes when it comes to issues surrounding your home, family and roots. So it's possible that you may relocate at this time. You may think about relocating. You've probably been thinking about it for a while. Move house, downsize possibly to reduce your mortgage. It's possible too that you may decide to make some fundamental changes to the way that you relate to family. Perhaps there's some patterns that you've been working on for the last 6 months that you feel are not terribly healthy for either family member, and it's time to really bring those to the fore and ask people to own their stuff. You also taking responsibility for yourself, perhaps going into therapy, because don't forget Pluto is all about deep work and deep transformation. The other way that this could work is that you decide to make some drastic changes to your schedules, or to your health. You may have a health scare. That's another way that this could work. Saturn and Pluto are the two planets that are concerned with death and rebirth. They are a little bit scary. They are about kind of karmic reckonings, or a rebalancing of the scales when it comes to give and take. So it's possible that you've been neglecting your health over the last few years. Maybe you've been working too hard, you haven't been managing your time properly, you're needing a better work-life balance. So these are all issues that are likely to be highlighted on the 12th when Saturn and Pluto come into conjunction. Just something to bear in mind. But it is a long-term cycle. I would have thought that you would have had hints of what this particular conjunction means for you, Leo, from 2019, because Saturn and Pluto have been going in and out of conjunction and orb essentially with each other. So I think you would have had some insights probably in the early part of 2019, and then again in the autumn as we moved sort of closer to the December solar eclipse. So think back to those times and you'll probably have a fair idea of the types of issues that are likely to be thrown up at this time. So guys, that's really it. I hope you've enjoyed these horoscopes, that they've been helpful to you and given you some pointers on the major trends that are going to be happening for you between now and June of 2020. If you haven't already, you may want to go to my website and find out more about eclipses. I do have a library of eclipses going back about 15 years, so if you're interested in looking at previous eclipses, then please sign up for my membership. It's free. It gives you access to my eclipse library, it gives you my it also means that you get my bi-monthly newsletters, which I send out to everyone on my mailing list, and it also means that you get exclusive and early access to any upcoming forecasts that I do that are not in the public domain. So with that, I wish you all the best for 2020. I hope the eclipses bring you everything that you hope for. Good luck with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and hope to see you again really soon.